Welcome back, guys. It's our last game of the day here for the MarsTV Dota 2 League. And this is our fourth two-game series today, so this is actually Immortal Magneto Gaming versus Newbee, as we find ourselves here with a Newbee at a 1-0 lead in this two-game series. I'm basically providing coverage on behalf of MarsTV, and it's great to be joining all of you guys today. For those of you who have stuck through the whole thing, thank you very much. It's been a little bit of a marathon, but we're not done just yet. So let's get ourselves into this draft. We're starting to see a little bit of a pattern emerge as we have the Spirit Breaker and the Undying both banned out. And I think our notable bans from the last game were the Queen of Pain and my memory fails me on what the fourth ban was in the previous game, but I'm sure I can find it. So let's go and check that out. We did have a remake, so it may have been lost. And now it looks like
Newbee's turn to pick.
Okay, looks like it hasn't updated just yet. At least I'm checking on DoTA at the moment. Could probably go and find the replay, but anyway. So I think it was the Earthshaker actually. Was it? That does seem to make sense. Yeah, okay. I think it was the Earthshaker along with the Queen of Pain as the other bands in the previous game. This time around, Newbee are going to be getting rid of a Centaur, which I find a little bit interesting. But the Gyrocopter makes his way all the way through into the pool, and we'll see if Newbee have any kind of give any thought to picking that one up for themselves. I think the mid lane Gyrocopter from Yafet's last game, we saw both the rise and fall of the Gyro. There was that huge fight over by the tier 1 tower mid where he went absolutely ballistic and blew everybody up, and then for the rest of the game it did feel like he fell off just a little bit there. And yeah, Newbee not going to be going for that Gyrocopter, will just be picking up the Shadow Fiend as their numero uno here. I think if you're going to be... The one thing that is obviously amazing to have against the Gyrocopter were the BKBs and the Rage from the Dragon Knight and the Lifestealer. Made it very difficult for him to get any damage done in fights. Flak Cannon is honestly pretty unimpressive early on damage-wise, and even in terms of its scaling with items, it's quite a bit slower than just a traditional right-clicker, say buying a Daedalus or buying an MKB, for example. So I think that tapering off did definitely hurt Immortal Magneto quite a bit in the previous game. If they could have had more gold on the Slardar and less on the Gyrocopter, I think they would have done so, but that's how the heroes are balanced. Slardar would be amazing with those levels of farm, but just doesn't quite have the flash farm potential. Looks like Immortal Magneto still believe in this Gyrocopter pick as they snag it for themselves here. The one interesting thing for Immortal Magneto is that they are running that Gyrocopter mid as well, so they've got a little bit more, more options in terms of what they're going to be doing with it this game. Could see it handled both on the mid or on the safe lane. They are over on the Dire this time around, so we might see a little bit more Roshan control out of the lineup here. And for Newbee, what are they going to end up going for? It looks like Clockwork is going to be the choice. As we talked about a little bit earlier in the day, Clockwork versus Gyrocopter can be interesting. If the Clockwork has an amazing start and gets up to his Blade Mail before the BKB comes out, then he's Gyrocopter's worst nightmare. If Gyrocopter manages to get up to his BKB, Clockwork barely tickles, so
10 seconds remaining.
We'll see what ends up happening. I wonder if the Clockwork is going to shift item priorities at all for the Gyro. We've been seeing lots of small items at the moment from all of our Gyrocopters so far today, but if the Clockwork starts to build up a little bit of steam, Gyro might have to abandon completing the drum, say, in favor of just going straight into BKB. So we'll see what he ends up doing. No clear sign just yet if this Lina is going to be support or if it's going to be core, but based on trends that we've seen so far today, it would seem to be more likely played as a support. Newbee had pretty great success using the Rubik to deal with the Clockwork in the previous game, so that could be something that they consider banning out here. Though with Immortal Magneto already having one support grabbed, it does sometimes feel a little bit better to ban out a core as opposed to a single support, and it does somewhat depend on how much they think the Rubik is substantially better than any other support with the stun in terms of killing this Clockwork. It does make him much more vulnerable to the Gyrocopter. You lift him up, drag him back into a stun, and drop the Rocket Barrage in his head, but the same is also true of just a fairly long duration single target stun like a magic missile or something like that. So We'll see what they end up going for here. One hero that I think we've only seen a single ban on so far today has been the Winter Wyvern, and I think that's something that we will probably be seeing teams experimenting with more as we get a little bit deeper into the patch, but looks like none of the teams that we've seen so far today are all that interested in grabbing it for themselves, so not going to be happening. And Newbee gonna ban out both a Storm Spirit and a Queen of Pain. I mean, both heroes are all right against Shadow Fiend mid, but Shadow Fiend just doesn't really lose mid lane matchups in general, and even if he does, he just spams back anyway. So I feel like these bans are probably more to do with the fact that they're good mid lanes to have against Clockwork, where it makes life quite difficult for Clock to be able to move around and actually get any successful ganks off against these two heroes. So I think that's more of the motivation that we're seeing from Newbee here. But Immortal Magneto, they're digging pretty deep into their reserve time here. Just going to end up banning at the Phantom Lancer once again. So despite having both the Lina and the Gyro, still not feeling confident about dealing with this this PL, and they will still end up going for that Rubik that I was discussing, as Newbee do end up just banning some cords. So Clockwork's going to have a pretty hard time in the offlane. But I feel like Immortal Magneto didn't have the best lane control in the previous game. We saw the Phoenix getting a lot of farm. They ended up with that triple range creep scenario for a little bit, and we had that one point where I think Clockwork had like half a level and Phoenix was already level 2.5. So Immortal Magneto are going to have to clean up their tri-lane execution a little bit if they want to keep this Clockwork totally locked out this game. They've kept their options as open as they could by picking up supports, but they were going to have a mid and an off lane coming up before too long. Mid shouldn't be too much of a problem. They've got really good ganking supports, and the Gyrocopter can kind of zone the Clockwork by himself, so that should free up at least one of these two heroes to make some rotations over onto mid lane, and might be able to find some kills that way. Newbee do end up grabbing their first support of the draft so far, as it is going to end up being the Visage, so gives them some nice extra burst damage if they pick up somebody for the safe lane that can make their way over into the jungle. That could be pretty amazing, and they've still got the potential to pick up a Drow Ranger here if they would like. Shadow Fiend with Drow Aura is no laughing matter, and they've still got room for one more ranged support to get a little bit of extra right-click potency out of the lineup if they so desire. So could see something like that coming up for them. And if it was a Drow, how do Immortal Magneto deal with it? There's still an Axe in the pool, which is not a hero that we've seen a heck of a lot of in the new patch, from at least from what I've seen, and could still be alright against a potential Drow Ranger strategy. Still a very good Crimson Guard buyer, which is always going to be great against all of those familiar auto attacks. Not nearly as good in countering the Visage as it used to be, since Counter Helix doesn't kill the birds, but could still be alright for jumping in, locking down the Drow, and getting that burst damage done. But they're going to go for a slightly more old school option as Immortal Magneto grabbed the Tidehunter. So they've got good AoE teamfight. I think the Clock could prove to be a bit of a nuisance for Tide here. I don't know if Tide considers... I guess we'll have to see a couple more heroes to decide whether or not this is going to be a mech game for your Tidehunter, or if it's going to be a Blink Dagger game. I think if it's a mech game, you probably go into a 4-staff immediately afterwards, just because of how value that is against the Clockwork, because you can quite easily lose a team fight as Tidehunter if you just get locked in cogs and are completely unable to drop a decent Ravage. So that's something that they're really going to have to watch out for this game. Even if they lift the Clockwork out afterwards, just keeping Tide occupied for 4 or 5 seconds can often be the difference between winning and losing a team fight. So Newbee still going to play this relatively greedy, as they do end up grabbing the Lifestealer. They've got a vehicle for him in the Clockwork, and we've already seen so far today that the Lifestealer is a pretty solid grab against the Gyrocopter in general. So I think the pick makes a lot of sense for that here, and had quite a bit of success with it in the previous game, so no reason to change a winning formula, and they're just going to end up picking it once again. Probably want another decent zoning support to help deal with this Tide, just so that he can't put too much pressure on the Lifestealer, but The Tide also going to have to pay some respect to the slows of both the Open Wounds and the Grave Chill in general here. So Vengeful Spirit just going to end up being the ban. Dragon Knight removed by Newbee, and Immortal Magneto now have to decide exactly what they're going to be doing with the lanes. They could still put the Lena mid and the Gyrocopter safe lane if they wanted to, or the Gyrocopter could be mid and whatever they want safe lane. Looks like Newbee think that the Gyrocopter is going to be the one position this game. And we'll see if they're right as we move a little bit further in. They could put the Gyrocopter on the 1, and Immortal Magneto could grab something like a Beastmaster for mid if they feel like they still really want more lockdown for the Lifestealer, potentially. But that would put all of the damage dealing onto the Gyrocopter, which could be a bit tough. We'll see what happens. 20 seconds left to consider their decision, so we'll see what they end up going for. And it is, in fact, an Invoker. Not a hero that I don't rate Invoker all that highly against Clockwork, and I think Lifestealer gives them a little bit of a hard time sometimes as well, but it does give them more AoE teamfight, gives them a little bit of extra control, and it seems like that's really what Immortal Magneto are just jamming home with these last couple of picks. They want that teamfight superiority, they want to be able to take the 5-on-5s. So for Newbee, just going to wrap things up with a Lion. Good zoning support, should be able to deal with the Tidehunter decently. Pretty good at roaming and ganking up that Invoker as well, so I feel like I like Newbee's lineup a little bit more overall. They're less cooldown centered. If Immortal Magneto drop a bad Ravage, then that could be... that's like no fights for the next couple of minutes after that. So we'll see how this ends up going. I'm going to remember to switch the overlay. Not going to let it be the last game of the day where I leave the pick ban screen up for the majority of the time. But anyway, jumping ourselves into this one. Over on Immortal Magneto, we have XLTT on the Gyrocopter, Gwai on the Tidehunter, LY on Rubik, Yaffets on Invoker, a little bit of a blast from the past, and we've got Delina handling by a man whose name I'm still not 100% sure about. I will go and figure that one out after this game. Meanwhile, over on Newbee, we've got Banana. On Lion, we've got Rabbit handling the Lifestealer. We've got Sansheng on Visage. Mu is going to be your Shadow Fiend. And finally, June over on the Clockwork. IMG getting pretty aggressive early on here, but unable to find anything, and just going to back themselves up. Not really placing any wards down either. Actually just going to leave that to the Tidehunter, being very defensive with his ward placement, leaving it off to the side here and just trying to avoid sentry wards as best he can. I don't know if they scouted any inventories from Newbee, because if they did, they would realize that Banana's actually started with boots and that there aren't any sentries to be found. But both teams positioning for runes right now. It looks like Yaffets is going to be able to get this bounty for himself. Banana wants to at least get a little bit of a punish, but Gyrocopter rushes down into the river and makes him regret that decision with the Rocket Barrage. At least with those boots, he is going to be able to get out of range, but at the end of the day, IMG going to grab the bottom rune, Mu grabs the top rune, and we're going to have to see how this mid lane matchup goes. I don't think this is a good matchup at all for Invoker. I think it was bad before, and it's probably even worse now. Yeah, if it's still at least getting in a little bit of work with his early Null Talisman, but this does seem to suggest that he's going to be going for Quaswex, and that does mean that eventually the Shadow Fiend is going to get the damage lead, at least until Yaffets is able to grab up his phase boots here. So let's see what ends up happening. Mu, already level 2, can start spamming the odd rays here and there to be able just to get the guaranteed soul as well. But in terms of what else is going on, Tidehunter losing control of bottom lane a little bit. Range creeps getting doubled up. I think Newbee handling this better than IMG did in the previous game. Yaffets right-clicking away. Mu taking quite a bit of harassment and nowhere near being able to grab up his bottle, so actually going to be forced to grab a salve as Yaffets just continues to pour on the pressure. Top lane, looks like caught out Clockwork, lift him back. Don't even need the Gyrocopter. Just going to be auto attacks into a lift. Meanwhile, mid lane, Mu, however, turns it around. Was looking for the tornado into the snap, but looks like Mu just jams the raises and finds that kill on the Invoker. That's going to be some nice souls for him, and able to stick around here and continue farming up with that salve being delivered. Bottle also ready to go once he gets back. I don't know what happened to Yafits there, but looks like he just went in for a dive and got punished. Cannot underestimate those new Shadow Fiend raises. They will mess you up. Cold Snap coming out. We're going to be forced to man down a bit, but that bottle is already on its way out. Tidehunter sets up a little stack here at the 2-minute mark, so getting those Ancients running to be able to get some farm a little bit later on. But right now, we are just chilling out in terms of the lanes, it seems. June actually doing quite well in this Clockwork. I think once again, Immortal Magneto's lane control not the best. They have rotated the Rubik over towards mid lane right now to see if they can get a kill on the Shadow Fiend, and with both of the supports being occupied, June's going to get a little bit more. XLTT does remind him of who's boss here, however, does end up eating a little bit of rocket barrage damage there. And Dire's Courier ends up going down. Looks like Banana able to snipe out that one, and that is going to be the poor Mighty Boar going down for quite a while there. Stun over onto Tidehunter, Soul Assumption damage coming in as well. Tanky enough to survive through, and he's got a salve. And a final Tango to bring himself back up to health. EMP dropped down mid. Moo now completely out of mana. Yafit's able to keep on laying in with the right clicks, but I think Moo's already got a Bottle Crow running at the moment. He's going to divert the bottle from top lane to bring it over to himself ASAP, just so that he can both get all of the sips and maybe spam things out to go and get one of the runes. We'll see if he's actually willing to leave or if he's just going to keep on crowing it here. But how are the IMG supports doing? Rubik spent a lot of time mid lane, but didn't really accomplish a whole lot there. They've got double boots on both of their supports right now, so smoke would definitely be great. But once again, we're going to see a team lose their courier at a crucial moment and be unable to pick up the smoke and go and get anything done. So it looks like for now, just going to have to hunker down and see if they can get done. Oh, Banana finds a haste rune. And this could be trouble for you, Tidehunter. No rotation across from your Shadow Fiend. It looks like Tide is going to be just fine to retreat back. Only level 2. Does have the Kraken Shell up at the very least. And Banana not going to waste too much time there. Rushes back over to mid. And Invoker, knowing that this haste rune is up, is going to be playing this at least fairly defensively. Drops down the EMP. Snap on a Moo as well. Can he get the mana return? We will be able to. So Yafit's playing this lane pretty nicely. Moo, bit low on mana to get anything done here. Rubik waiting for his opportunity to turn this gank around on its head. Looks like Banana gonna think twice and just go back and get a little bit of stacking done. So for now, not a whole lot of action happening. Rabbit is your CS leader, but XLTT trading spots with him back and forth, as his phase boots up now, so very difficult for Clockwork to stay in the lane up against all of that harassment. And we do finally have Rubik being able to pick up a smoke as the courier respawns and able to fly that one out right now. In terms of Ancient stack, it's still only the double stack for the Tidehunter right now. And let's see if this smoke is going to pay dividends, as both the Lina and the Rubik are going to pull themselves away from top lane to try and go for this one. It is a little bit suspicious, but there isn't a ward from Newbee over by the pole, so I might be able to get away with this one. And actually not going for the obvious gank. Looks like they might be making their way down bot. Newbee sensing the supports are gone. Moo's going to back off and try and grab a little bit of farm, but they find him out off to the side, and looks like they will be able to finish him off with a few auto attacks. Tries to bottle through. Banana only a little ways away, I think, from being able to turn that one, but not able to get the Earth Spike out in time, and IMG reading that situation really nicely, realizing, well, if we smoke and we try and run around from the side or we try and run straight at him, he's probably just going to be off farming neutrals. Unfortunately for Moo, sort of ended up choosing the wrong camp to farm at that point, and does end up paying for that. They're going to lift the Visage down into the river, EMP along with the snap as well. He's dead for sure, and IMG getting active and aggressive early on, but definitely making it work for them. That's going to be a nice bit of golden experience lining their pockets, and well, there'll be no real response from them. Banana is still a pretty low level on the whole, so I think he's hoping that Rabbit's going to go hit jungle creeps pretty soon and he can start taking over this lane and working towards his blink dagger, but We'll see how benevolent Rabbit is feeling here. He's still got quite a bit of farming to do this game. Meanwhile, June, supports have been away from top lane for a little while, so despite the despite the gyrocopter harassment, he is going to be able to grab himself his level 6. Has his bottle and his mango ready to go and potentially make something happen. Needs to pick up a dust if he's going to try and go gank the Invoker. And IMG not willing to give up on their tier 1 tower bot just yet. Looks like Lina going to be TPing down and just laying in a little bit of harassment. And meanwhile, Moo has just picked up his tread so far, so we'll see what the item build is going to be from him. I think pretty likely that we're just going to be seeing the mech into the BKB. Mech could be a little bit more difficult to use this game against the EMP from the Invoker, so it could be a first item BKB from him, but I think there's still a ton of value to be had from the mech this game, so we'll see what he ends up doing. Meanwhile, looks like Lina going to continue stacking things up for the Tide. Tornado, snap, EMP on mid lane. Drops Moo low, but no potential kill. Rubik a little bit late to the party and unable to get off the lift. So actually, June going to be coming in from the side here. Can they look for something? No, looks like no interest from Newbee. Just gonna back things up safely. Invis are spotted by Lina. And go and get some scouting information done, maybe see if there's any stacks waiting over the jungle to potentially be stolen by the gyrocopter. I can check the inventory, see that there's no sentry wards. I got a very quick disconnect from the Rubik, so looks like we are going to have a pause for the time being. Looks like June and Banana actually interested in getting something done top lane. They're right by the tier 1 tower. Might be able to get a TP in to help out with this one as well. Shadowfiend's got a TP, but he's a little bit low on mana. Sunshine's got a TP, and he could drop a Soul Assumption. No TP on the Lifestealer. I don't think there's any chance that they've been spotted making their way up here. And the Clockwork has been off the map for a little bit. So this gank could be successful, but they've got to pay the due amount of respect to rank 4 Rocket Barrage and call that. And the other question is, what counter initiation do IMG potentially have? There is a TP on the Invoker, but I think they're a little bit far away from the tier 1 tower to make anything happen here. We'll see if this pause has made XLTT suspicious of what's going on here. Nice hook comes in, catching him out. Rocket Barrage is just going to be tanked through. June might end up paying here with his life. Just manages to tank through it. And Moo does end up being the one to TP up there and help to find that kill. And Mango not even required to find that one at the end of the day. Meanwhile, what have we got going on? Looks like Yafet's just going to be working towards a pretty standard Quaswex Orchid for himself here. Rubik just chilling. Lina kind of chilling as well. They've got another Smoke of Deceit, so might be able to go and find another gank. Though they are falling behind a little bit, I think, in terms of overall levels. Yeah, it does seem to be IMG struggling a little bit more. They do have this Ancient stack to fall back on for the Tidehunter, but he's going to need even a couple more levels before he's able to clear that one out. He is at least going to be happy with the fact that Arcane Boots got changed. He can pick those up anytime for himself now. And meanwhile, have we started to see what the Shadowfiend's build is going to be? Not just yet. Some combination of Mechules, BKB, probably very likely for Moo this game. We'll see what his preference is going to end up being. Looks like some farm going to be passed over to Sansheng here on mid, so Lion going to be getting the shorter end of the stick in terms of who's getting farm, but I don't think Banana's too concerned. He's making things happen. Gonna smoke out, go and place down a ward. Probably keep an eye over the Ancients, so if Tide ever comes over to try and clean these out, they can kill him and then steal all the big creeps. It's definitely gonna be nice. Tide coming over, looking for another stack perhaps, but June gonna hook him up. They've got only the rank 1 battery assault, so this damage is pretty slow, but looks like the Tidehunter will still be brought down. Yafet's looking for the turnaround, gets the snap out, but June tanking through with strength treads, and the rest of the Newbee roster charging straight in to try and help him out as well. And do have your Voidstone picked up for Moose, so it looks like it is going to be that Eel Scepter as the first item. Pretty decent for dodging all kinds of things this game, actually. EMP, tornadoes, XLTT, jumping in pretty aggressively here. The tower's not down just yet. They're going to drop the call down, but not really getting anything out of it. Banana snapped up and dropped back. Moo can't really stand against all 5 of these heroes right now. He's going to drop the Requiem and do his best to turn and fight one raise. Can he get off another? Pops the stick charges, surviving for a little bit longer. XLTT will be brought down, and Lina surviving on a sliver of health. Rabbit going back in, trying to man up here. They look for Yaffets, they will get him, and Rabbit healing up off of the Infest. LY now in a lot of trouble. They managed to get off the lift and keep Rabbit at bay for the time being, a little bit further off to the side. It is going to be the Familiars cleaning up the Lina, and the overall exchange ends up being a 2 for 3 going Newbee's way. The experience actually ends up a little bit more favorable for IMG, and a very, very similar gold swing as well. So keeping things relatively even, but Newbee holding the lead before that fight even broke out, and that's going to be a 3k net worth, well, 4k net worth, and 3k experience lead going their way. Rabbit getting a ton of farm out of that fight as well. 2.4k gold up for him. Banana unfortunately dying right at the very start. He would have benefited a lot from any kills happening before he died, given that he's the lowest hero on net worth for his team right now, but unfortunately it looks like it was not quite meant to be. Lina kind of missing out on an opportunity to set up another stack for the Tidehunter there, so they've been a little bit lax with this, and that is going to mean that the blink or the mech or the Force Staff, whatever Tide is going for here, is going to be that little bit slower. And Rabbit just going to be picking up an armlet. Nice early aggressive active item for him right now. And Yaffet's not going for, well, at least not going for the Orchid immediately. Does just end up going for an Urn first. And if you're a Quasvex Invoker, you're going to be running around and you're probably going to be participating in every single gank anyway. So Urn's really good for that, and of course procs Cold Snap. So always going to be nice to have. You don't really need it so much for yourself. The mana regen is nice because you're not getting a lot of extra int from Exhort, but I mean you've got tons of HP regen off Quas, so you can pretty much use the Urn offensively all the time. Urn did get a minor nerf in the previous patch. Casting multiple Urns back to back used to stack the buffs, but it doesn't anymore. Oh, June! Invis Rune with the Lifestealer Infest finds 3. They drop the Cogs, they kill the Invoker, no problem. They kill the Rubik, no problem. They kill the Lina, no problem. That was the perfect rune for June to have there. And oh, that ends up being a total disaster for Immortal Magneto. Tide nowhere nearby to be able to drop the Ravage and help out, and that is going to be a huge win for Newbee. June even able to catch out the Tidehunter here. We've got some Soul Assumptions and some raises coming in, and that is going to be a 4th kill in as many minutes for Newbee as they now set their sights towards the tier 1 tower. Gyrocopter finishing up his drum, thinking to himself, okay, I'm ready to fight. Let's get active. Let's go get ready to do things, and his team is already being knocked around. It looks like the Visage is going to be handling the mech duties since Moo is actually buying up a Yule Scepter. I think it's getting delivered to him right this second. And Newbee even going to take this as an opportunity to go and get down some nice aggressive wards as well. So keeping up the map pressure and keeping IMG contained so they can't get out and start using this Laguna Blade and the Invoker's ganking potential to start dragging themselves back little by little. Clockwork item build from him has just been a bunch of little cost-effective items so far. Not going for the Blade Mail. It looks like just tanking up as best he can to survive through the next couple of fights. And IMG, undeterred by the unsuccessful gank, are just going to go for the exact same pace, smoking up. This time around, they do bring the Tidehunter with them. I'm going to see what they can end up finding. Sunshine and June, both a little bit suspicious that something is happening here. And I'm just going to retreat themselves back into the trees. Rubik poking his head forward. Rabbit also here. They're going to load up the Clockwork Bomb and see what they can find. Tide still smoked for a little bit longer. Looks like Yaffet might still be keen to stick around here, but with everybody else on Newbee arriving pretty quickly, I'm not going to be able to get too much done. There's a haste rune on June. Hunting for something here. Hook going to come in. Going for Lina first. EMP gets dropped down. But Rabbit able to get out of range. Dust comes out as well, and June just looking for kill after kill after kill. Gets the double. Calldown gets dropped by XLTT, but June with his haste rune just does not care. Unfortunately, Cogs on cooldown for a little bit longer. I think he might have actually gone in for that one, but Newbee have loftier goals. They're going to be stealing the Ancient Stack out from underneath Immortal Magneto's nose, and that is going to be huge economic damage. Tidehunter's next item is basically never going to come at this point. And mech's almost complete. for Visage. Shadowfiend's already got 1k gold towards a potential BKB. Banana was dirt poor, but he was around for some kills, and now he's got 2k, so Blink Dagger is almost there for him. And before too long, both of the supports on Newbee are going to leapfrog Gaffets in terms of farm. I think Invoker has done the right, he's made the right moves this game. You're a Quaswex Invoker, you want to run around, you want to get ganks, you don't want to be sitting back, because that is 100% an easy way to lose a game as a QW Invoker, but Newbee have just punished them mercilessly every single time they've gone for something this game. We haven't even seen a Ravage drop just yet. We've got all this teamfight from Immortal Magneto, but they have not once so far been able to start off a teamfight on the right foot. And it's only going to get harder now that Banana's picked up this Blink Dagger as well. Glimmer Cape up for June. Actually an item that I didn't think of at all for Clockwork, but totally amazing this game. Immortal Magneto have basically no right click, and this means that he can just hook in, Glimmer Cape himself, and even if they've got anti-invis, what does it matter? You're not going to die to Rocket Barrage, you're not going to die to Invoker's nukes, to Lena's nukes, save somebody from a Laguna Blade. This is definitely the item this game. And until Immortal Magneto get quite a bit later on in the game, they are pretty much all magical damage. So this is the cheapest BKB you're ever going to see. Looks like Rabbit, SNY up next on the agenda for him. Moo. Already up to another 2k gold, so again, could be a BKB before too long. Immortal Magneto bring a couple of heroes down towards bottom lane, but at this point it looks like they're just kind of floundering around, figuring out what they can do. Everybody's going to come over here and maybe look for another smoke. Do they even have a smoke? Nobody has a smoke. Who's got the smoke? Okay, we don't have a smoke. Okay, let's just go get some creeps. This is... I think Immortal Magneto are in a little bit of disarray right now. They're down by 10k net worth, down by 10k experience, and Newbee can probably just continue to press forward here. Might end up waiting for this Visage mech to be delivered before they pop off the smoke, but after that I think quite comfortably able to go and get some more ganking done. They could force things by going to Roshan, but I think that is by far the most dangerous move you could make against the Invoker, the Gyrocopter, and the Tidehunter. So probably going to be a smoke into trying to find some kills, and then maybe Roshan afterwards if the fight goes well enough. But
tower is under attack.
Newbee, let's go. We've got the infested up Clockwork leading on the front lines. IMG have actually just totally backed off and gone to try and grab a little bit of farm in their lanes. So Newbee actually straight into Roshan. They still see Gyrocopter top. They still see Gyrocopter top. And as a result, have to be feeling pretty safe about this, at least for now. June ready to close the door with the power cogs, so even if there is a Ravage dropped off, the rest of IMG are going to struggle to get inside a little bit. Rabbit doesn't want to tank anymore, so June's going to come in and tank up a little bit. Tornado does scout things out, EMP on the high ground as well, but everyone on Newbee able to sidestep that nicely by running deeper into the pit, and that is going to be easy Aegis of the Immortal picked up for Moo here. Rabbit feeling pretty confident with his, just with his armlet toggling and his rage to be able to keep him alive here.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
But at this point, Immortal Magneto are just sacking towers. We're still yet to see a Ravage, we're yet to see an attempted team fight, but Newbee will continue their march forward as net worth and experience look more and more dire as we move forward, and even bottom lane is already pushing in, so Newbee grab the Aegis, grab a tier 2, grab a tier 2, and could probably either get up onto the high ground or grab the final tier 2 before this one fades. They're just taking whatever they want off the map right now, and Immortal Magneto are letting them have it. Can Immortal Magneto actually finish up an item that's going to matter before Newbee just bring the fight to them? Tidehunter is desperately trying to get up what looks like a Blink Dagger right now. Invoker is a millennium away from getting his Orchid. And yeah, looks like Newbee just gonna go hit tier 3s. Nobody's providing any kind of resistance for them so far. They do have this regen over on the Shadow Fiend as well, along with the Aegis. Rabbit just gonna rage through that EMP. And Glyph popped off. IMG now starting to bring heroes back, but Tornado and EMP both on cooldown for a little bit, so Nothing really to bother Newbee too much here. They're going to load up the Clockwork Bomb as June takes his aim. Got a little bit of vision outside the base here. Being planted by the Lina. Yafet's Tornado EMP cooling down pretty soon, but just going to be June looking for that opportunity to jump in here. He's got a dust, so they could even consider jumping in on the Invoker. They're going to go for it. In he comes. Yafet's immediately bursted down. The Cogs are going to keep Rabbit held in for a little bit, but June opens up some space, pops the Glimmer Cape, and just tanks through everything. And in comes the Tidehunter, unable to get off. The Ravage just gets bursted along with the Shadow Fiend ultimate. Immediate buyback from your Tide, but still nobody dead on Newbee. Just looks like Banana might be the first one to go down, but actually still able to make it up onto the high ground. Gets bottled a little bit. June surviving on less than 200 HP after all is said and done, but they get 2 kills and 2 buybacks at pretty much 0 cost. They've still got the Aegis up for another 2.5 minutes, so if they want to, they could go and find another team fight, find another opportunity. If they kill the Tidehunter and the Invoker, could quite easily be a couple of lanes of racks for them there. This Glimmer Cape on the Clockwork is so the item this game. Yeah, you look at Immortal Magneto, they've got nothing but magical damage, and Clockwork's soaking that up just fine here. So, what do we got? Familiars are farming bottom a little bit. Sunshung has just picked up a medallion, so it looks like no items forthcoming for him for a little bit. Banana's going to be picking up a Force Staff before too long to go along with his Blink Dagger, so definitely a nice grab for him. Clockwork can actually grab an Aghanim Scepter very soon. And poor Tidehunter after that buyback. Blink Dagger is going to be even further away this game. He had his Ancient stolen, he had to buy back. Things have just not been kind to the Tidehunter this game.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, anyway. Banana, I don't know if this is the kill that you want. Okay, Blink's away. He's gonna be alright. Tier 2's down. Age is still up. Newbee continue their march forward. We've got XLTT just trying to get at least a little bit of damage down, but Rabbit and June have already gone jumping into the base and have found themselves a first kill. Regenerin ready for the Clockwork as well, so he can go charging in again before too long. Moo tanking things up at the moment, but he's still just fine. Homing Missile coming in. Could use himself to dodge it, but I think his team has his back. Tornado splits through everything, but will not catch on anyone. And at this point, Invoker's just working on a mech just to see if they can take a fight and maybe start to turn this game a little bit. But Rabbit with the Rage cleans up the tier 3. Moo still with the Aegis in hand. Gonna post up on the racks, going for the ranged racks first. Familiar is unable to do anything to the homing missile, but Rabbit has Moo's back. And looks like they're going to be able to stick around for now. They see the Tidehunter over at mid clearing out the wave. That's a little bit more of an opportunity for Rabbit to come in. It is tanking up quite a bit of damage, needs to be careful. Not the Aegis holder here. And that Aegis has actually been reclaimed by Roshan, so looks like a Newbee just going to settle for the tier 3 and back themselves off for now. In terms of vision, do we have anything for the Dire? Nope, they've done their best to place a couple of wards outside base, but that's about it. We've got a Blink Dagger flying its way out to Moo right this second. I think the Clockwork Aghanim Scepter, yeah, very, very close as well, so June's going to have that one pretty soon. And, well, IMG, where are the items? What have we got? We've got not nearly enough gold on the Tidehunter right now. Yafet's getting stunned up, gets off the Tornado. A little bit of counter initiation potential here as he just barely survives. Down goes the Lion. We've got a little bit of trouble here as the Ravage goes out, but it just doesn't matter. Moo pops the BKB. XLTT tanking up nicely with the BKB for the time being, but Moo is still on the chase. Drops down one more raise. Jump in from June. Rabbit pops out to say hello. And down goes the Rubik. XLTT between his tier 4 towers is still going to get manned up on by Rabbit, who does reconsider after the mech gets popped off, but Newbee able to get back outside of the base after grabbing 2 kills, only the 1 casualty on the Lion, and should just be able to back off and reset. BKB still on cooldown for the time being, but IMG unfortunately not in any position to force things, and I think Newbee can actually just heal up, wait for BKB in 30 seconds, and go while Ravage is down. The super safe play is to wait for Roshan, but he's at least a minute and a half away, and you've just got a Desolator picked up on your lifestealer. So I think you can actually probably just go right now. Do they have any other items coming up soon? Clockwork's just finished the Ags. Visage is not close to his. Lion's 500 gold away from a 4-staff, but I don't think that's influential enough to wait around. That looks like they might just wait around for the next. Roche. June is seemingly unconcerned. he's feeling pretty confident with his shiny new Aghanim Scepter. They don't have all that much information in terms of what's going on over on the dire side of the map, but you can put 2 and 2 together. There's 5 heroes. They have to be somewhere in this semicircle, and well, the rest of it is not all that complicated. Do IMG even have any smokes left? None in stock, none in inventories, none on the courier. They ran through 3 smokes running over onto this cliff, and I don't think any of those ganks worked for them. But we'll see. Maybe Invis Rune on Moo, trying to see if he can find a freebie with the Requiem of Souls and the Yule Scepter. Even gonna wait up inside the base right now. Spot the Lina. Pretty easy kill there. And yep, looks like this is gonna be just a straightforward pop with the Requiem of Souls. Not even any follow-up auto attacks needed, as Moo's just gonna start laying in here. As BKB is at the ready. Rabbit with his Desolator also making his way forward onto the melee barracks. Have regened up a little bit, so some of Newbee's earlier damage discounted after that, but looks like they should be able to stick around here. Rubik able to get his hands on the Rage, but I don't know how much that's going to be doing for him this game. Invoker trying to find the opportunity with the Tornado EMP to set things up a little bit, as they do have the Ravage back off cooldown. But the question is how the Tidehunter is going to be able to get into this fight. There's no 4-staff to even consider pushing him in so that he can get the Ravage off. Rubik's close, but not quite. Hookshot's going to come in. Rubik in trouble. Can he pop off the Rage or anything? Tries to steal the Battery Assault Rabbit straight onto XLTT, and it's 4 or 5 auto attacks to bring him down. Ice Wall buying a little bit of space, but Moo cannot be stopped, blinking forward with BKB, and will find himself a double buyback from the Gyrocopter, with Newbee easily able to duck back. Grab the lane of Rax. XLTT hexed up. Banana does end up being brought down by the Deafening Blast, but Gyrocopter will once again be brought down. Ravage comes out, but it's only for Moo, and the GG has already been called, as that is going to wrap it up. Newbee taking the series 2-0. So, well, a decent showing for Newbee, but as I was talking about at the beginning of the series, I think this is definitely one that Newbee, in theory, should take without breaking too much of a sweat. I think still a decent performance from Immortal Magneto, especially in that first game. I think things fell apart for them a little bit more in the second game, and it seems like the biggest thing was just a really big discrepancy between the support play more than anything. The Newbee tri-lane is always tight and well coordinated and really keeps the off-lane locked out, and Immortal Magneto a little bit sloppier, sort of let June get away with a lot of farm, both on the Phoenix and the Clockwork in games 1 and 2. So that is going to wrap it up for today, guys. We are done with round 1 of the MarsTV Dota 2 League. I think we're back for another 8 games, another 4 best of 2s tomorrow. And to give you a little bit of a preview as to what kind of matches to look forward to, we have let's see, we have LGD versus Immortal Magneto, we have CDEC versus eHome, HGT versus Newbee, which should be pretty good, and LGD versus eHome. So that should actually be, that last match tomorrow should actually be really good. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the coverage. For those of you who stuck around for the whole 8.5 hours, you're crazy. It was great to have you along for the whole ride. If you want to leave me any feedback, email me at basekipdota@gmail.com. If you'd like to support me, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter under the name of Basekip. Big thank you, of course, to MarsTV for having me on to cast this event. It's been great so far, and I'm looking forward to joining you guys for more Dota action tomorrow. Thanks once more for watching. I'll see you next time.